Welcome back, guys. My name is Austin from awfulmedia.com, and this is part 4 of the Making a Simple Game in Unity. Now, this part is going to be short and sweet as it is late and I am sleepy. I may not even make it through this video. We are going to set up our trigger to send us to the next level. We're going to clean up something and we may start designing our first level. And that'll be it for this part. So the first things first, I want to go to my player movement, and this is where we're checking to see if we hit an enemy, and if we do, we die. But I want to set up our death bits here into a die method. That way we can call it without doing this every time we die. We'll just put this into a method and then call this method, and then we die. So I'm going to set that up now. I'm going to do a void and just call it die. We won't need any parameters, I don't think, so for now we'll just leave that blank. I'm just going to paste this content into there. Now all I have to do is call this method anytime I want to die, just like that, and now I will die. I will instantiate my death particles and transform or change my position to the spawn point. So everything should be the same. I click play, and then I hit a bunch there for a second, run into that person, I die, and go back to my spawn point. So that was quick and easy. And that's good. So now that if I was to check to see if I fall off the map, I can just call that method again without writing all this out twice, because that would be redundant and stupid. Let's check to see if we fell off the map. And the way we can do that is, we know, at least I know, that none of our maps are going to have any Y changes. We're not going to be going down or up any more than we are now. This is as far down as our player will ever be throughout this game. And I mean, when I say down, I mean he will not descend on the Y-axis any more than he already is. So we can use that to check to see if we are falling off the map. The way we do that is if my Y is less than a certain point, then I am clearly falling off the map. Quick, simple way to do that. So I will say if transform.position.y, now that's a vector 3, the position is, so I can grab individual points in that vector 3 and see what they are. And I can say if it is less than 2, or not less than 2, less than -2. So if I am past the 0 point and falling down, then I reach the -2 point, I want to die. And that should do that for us. If I was to click play, and I was to walk off the map, see my character falling, and then he gets to a certain point and explodes into particles and respawns. Now, see how easy that was? How easy was that? That's so cool. Just checking the position, checking the Y-axis, and saying if I'm below a certain point, I want to die. Now that we have the death method set up, that was literally, it could have been 2 lines of code. It could have been 1 line of code. It could just be this. If you have a single statement within an if check, or anything really, you can just omit the curly braces. But I don't know. It doesn't really matter in the end. I think it all compiles to the same thing. But you don't have to do that if you have a single statement within a check or anything like that. So now what do we have to do? Now I want to check to see if we are going to be going to the next level. But I want to control my levels from a game manager. A class that is going to contain our score, our current level, our unlocked level, any of that stuff. So let's go ahead and create a new C# script. I want to call this game manager. That's what I said, at least. We'll go with that. I'm going to stop the play simulation there. Open that up. And now inside of this, I want to set up, let's see. We'll have, these will be public just so we can look at them for now. And they'll be public because we have to access them from external classes as well. And this will be the best way to go about it, I think. So I want to set up a public int for current score. And then we can set up a public, I'm not sure why I did that, int of high score. That way we can save a high score, and we'll be doing some saving to the player's computer, and then we can bring that information in, and we can compare it to the current score and see if he beat his high score or she beat her high score, whichever. And if the score is higher, we can replace the high score with the current score. That's the idea, right? That'd be kind of cool. Now I want to do a public int of current level and a public int of unlocked level. Now this is for preparation for our level select, because I believe we will be doing an overworld select. It may be towards the end. For now, we might do a simple menu select, and then towards the end of the series do an overworld select, because that's going to be pretty complex compared to what we're doing. We have to do that. We'll do a node-based system where we have nodes. Certain nodes you can walk right and left on. Certain nodes you can walk up on. Certain nodes you can walk down on, and a mixture of those depending on the different crossways and stuff. It'll be interesting. I've never done that before, and I've been putting some thought into it to come up with the best way to go about doing it. So I'm pretty excited about doing that. So look forward to that if you're interested in seeing that kind of thing. So current score, high score, current level, unlocked level. Now let's do, I'm not sure yet what the calculations are going to be to determine our score. If we're going to base it on time remaining or the total time it took, and do some math with the collectibles we got throughout the map, or what we're going to do really. If there's a goal, if it's going to be a star-based system, I don't know. That I've not got that far yet, so we will be doing that together. I can make these static if I wanted to, and then we could access them, and they're not going to change. Maybe we should do these static. I mean, they're not going to change based on object. So let's do, for now we'll do static. We may come across this and say it's not a good idea later on. But we've went over static stuff as well very briefly in the introduction series. So I did not say abstract though. Where did that go? This mono-develop autocomplete crap completely destroys stuff sometimes. Alright, so these are static now. Now what that means is in player movement, I can access these directly by going through game manager and saying .current level .current score. Before, I would have to get an object reference, because these would be based off of the object they are an instance on or by, or the object they're attached to. That's the way to explain that. So I can access that now just by going through the dot notation just like that. And that may be good. We may change that, but for now, I think that's good. So what I want to do is I want to set up really quick. Let's set up another level. It'll just be a duplicate of this level. So I'll hit Control D, and notice it when it does that, it goes through and finds a number. And if it's a 1, it would go to a 2, and it will do that automatically for you. And that's pretty handy, because with our naming convention, it works every time. So now I have level 1. And I have level 2. But these are starting at, when you think of the IDs for these levels, they're starting at 0. So level 1 is actually 0. Level 2 is actually 1. It goes the same way as an array. So think of it that way. So when we reference these via ID, we will be referencing them, and there will be a number lower than the actual title of that level. For now, I don't want any of this in here. If we want that, we'll add it in ourselves. But what I want to do is I want to check to see if what we're colliding with, inside of this, we can use this for different objects. We don't have to just check for the enemy. We can also check if we're hitting our goal. Because if we're hitting our goal, no, we can't do that. Our goal's a trigger, isn't it? But you can do that if they're the same type. With our goal being a trigger, what we actually have to do is a different method, a different message that will be called when that event happens. And that is called onTriggerEnter. Same thing, everything's the same, except this takes, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it takes a collider parameter. Maybe mistaken on that, and it'll tell us if I am, so that's pretty cool. Then I want to check to see if other.transform.tag is equal to goal. That way, if we're inside the goal, then I want to go through the game manager and say dot. We'll do game manager dot complete level. Now, that's not a method yet, so it won't know what I'm talking about. But we'll do a void and do this will be called complete level. And within this is where we will handle the loading of the next level. So all we have to do from this is just call this complete level. Now that won't change depending on the level, but this will change because we'll do, let's see. Now we're going to go through the application class. And this gives us access to one thing that we really need, and that is load level. Now this is going to be able to load the level that we pass to it. Now we can pass to it a string name, or we can pass to it an ID, and we're going to be using the ID. So I'm going to just do that right there. Notice what it says here, int for the index or string name. So we're going to be doing an index, which I've been calling ID. Not sure why. And I'll say application.load level, and I will say current level plus 1. So the current level we'll be setting to the level that we're currently on. And in the next level, we'll set it, we'll add 1 to that. Then after this, what we could do is say current level. Maybe we could do it this way, plus equals 1. Yeah, because we want the current level to update. Let's see. I didn't do this in the last one, so I'm having to think as I go here. We could update the current level value itself. That way, we won't have to manually change this for each level. Okay, that might work. So current level plus equals 1, and we will set this to default for now to 0. Okay, that should be okay for now. We may run into some issues. I'm not too sure. But now we have to create a goal tag. Any errors? Yeah. Oh, it's this has to be a public, and then it has to be a static. There we go. Now the method had to be public to be able to access it, and static to be able to access it without an object or reference. The same with these variables. Once again, that may all change if we run into some issues, and we very well may do that. It's hard to tell at the moment. So I want to attach this game manager really quickly to something that will persist throughout all the games, and I believe that would be the camera. The camera will always be there. It won't change. It'll always be in the level. So I want to attach that class to the camera, and that should be fine. Now notice I can't access this in here because these are all static, which means they don't change based on the object. So if I was to be able to edit these in the inspector, it wouldn't matter because that's not how static works. Because being static, it's not based on the object. It's based on the class. Okay? So I have 2 levels now. I want to add the tag to my goal and go tag here, add the tag of goal. Go back here and make sure I attach that, and we'll see what errors we get, because I'm sure we will get some. Always do. Oh, I didn't add it to the build settings. To be able to go through application to load a new level, they have to be in your build settings, and notice all we have is the index of 0. Now if I was to go to 2, which I may be under 2, I want to save all that, yeah. If I was to go to 2, notice my main camera no longer has that object. We may get into some better persistence in the future, but for now I will just attach the game manager to the main camera once again. Let's go ahead and clear that. And since I am now in level 2, I can go to my build settings and add current. Notice it goes to 1, and it's looking at level 2. Now if I was to go back to level 1, go to my levels, go back to level 1, say yes, I want to save that, and click play. I'm hoping that this just takes me where it's supposed to take me. And now I am at where? Did it just load the same level again? Let's change something in level 2 so we can see if something changes. In level 2, I will make another ogre. Okay, save that. Go to level 1, click play, and see if we come across 2 ogres. I don't see 2 ogres. Oh no, those 2 ogres are just following the same path. You can see that there's 2 ogres. Not 2 ogres in level 1, is there? No. So going to this, it generates 2 ogres, but since they are starting at the same spawn point, that looks like 1 ogre. And I can change that really quickly by going to level 2, going to this ogre, and just saying, hey, be 2, and that should, we'll just change the transform as well to the starting position to be there. So if I grab this first ogre, set the starting position to be there, and the secondary position to be there. I may have just done the same thing twice, I'm not too sure. Notice level 2 now, I have the ogres in different locations. Now if I was to go back to level 1, click save, play this, go to my little green thing, touch that, notice now there's an ogre there and an ogre there. So our level system should be working, and it's going to be pretty dynamic. As long as you have as many levels as you're looking for, then you should be able to find the level and go to it just by having that, because it's taking the current level and going to the next one. Now I say that, let's try that for another one. In level 2 is my goal. See, it's not tagged. I hate doing changes like that don't persist over because I already duplicated the level. So I have to go back and make sure I've done everything I need to do before I do another duplicate. So I'm just going to duplicate the first level though, because I know everything in that level is fine. Notice it goes level 3. Now in this one, I want to move the camera. We're just going to move the camera. Am I in level 3? No. In level 3, we're just going to move the camera so we can tell it's different. I want to look it straight down and pull it up a bit. Go back to level 1, click save, go play. And if this works, then we're doing pretty good. If not, we have something else to look at. Oh, I gotta add it to the build settings. You would think I've never done that before. Except I just did it 2 minutes ago. We can go build settings and go add current. Go back to level 1, click play. We'll get there. Go to their little goal, boom. Now go to our little goal, boom. And go to a little goal and nothing will happen because there is no level 4. So that's great and all, but how do we check to see if we are at the final level? And if we are, then when we complete that level, we should win or go do something else. Now the way we can do that is, it's not going to be as dynamic as it could be, but for now it's going to work for us. So I want to do a check in here, and I want to say if the current level is equal to it's an integer, so if it's equal to 2, then we'll do a not equal to. We'll say if it's not equal to 2, so if it's, let's do a less than 2. That'll make more sense. And I hit Control X on that and paste that in there. So if it is less than 2, 0, 1, 0 or 1, and then 2 would not add another one to the current level because there is no more to load. So if not, then I want to do an else and say else print you win. Now will that work for us? Let's do a quick check here. I'll run through all the levels. Once it loads, run through all the levels here, and boom. Couldn't walk right for a second. And then on this one it should say you win. Okay, so that works for us. So it's kind of, it's hard coded, right? It's not dynamic, but for now that'll do the trick. That's fine. That'll work for us. So what we can do now is what? Let's start a small level and test it out and stuff, because there's not much else to do in this video, and I'm just going to show you how I'm going to go about doing it, and then you can design all your own levels you want to. I'm not going to spend too much time designing the level, because once you have the knowledge of how to do that, it might be best if you do it on your own. Now, in the prototype, in the example I showed at the beginning of this series, I used individual cubes to define my levels. But Unity, it doesn't like that. There's something with the way that it handles these collision or these colliders that sometimes somehow you get snagged on one of these corners. Even if they're perfectly aligned and you're moving down up against a wall that has separate colliders, it's possible to get the corner of your cube or something stuck in the gap. Now we could fix that by using a sphere collider on these, and that would be fine. And we may actually do that still in the end. But for now, what I want to do is make our levels out of longer objects. So for like a longer wall, just make it a single object. That's going to require a bit more math, just so we can calculate the length of the wall based per unit. But that's fine though, considering we're using single unit sizes. Now our player may be smaller than a single unit in the future, so we don't get snagged in a hallway and get stuck or something, if something finicky like that happens. But we're going to be using just longer geometry for most of our longer portions. May also go with a sphere collider, so we have the ability to kind of roll around certain issues like that. So I'm going to start designing the map. And to do that, I want to create an empty object. And I'm going to call this underscore map. Now I do the underscore so it pushes it to the top. And this empty object is just going to be like a folder for all of the game objects that relate to the map. So I'm going to zero this out. Everything that I put in as a child to map will also share what it'll be relative to map for its position, rotation, and scale. So if I'm going to now create our map, I'll go create other and do a cube. Now in the future we can actually do some modeling and stuff, but I'm so bad at it. I am not an artist, as you can tell. So here is our first piece of map. And I want to just call this wall. Something creative. Drop that in map. Notice now that map is now the parent to wall. If I move map, wall moves as well. But notice if the map is over here, wall is still at 0.250 because it is at the 0, 0, 0 of map, not of the world. It is based on its parent. Clear that out again. Now what we can do is actually first let's do a 0 on that and then a 0.25 on this. So all of our cubes will be at 0, 0, 0, but our parent is what is above the ground. So our first one's going to be scale on we'll do it on the Z for 3. We'll do 3, yeah, we'll do 3. And then I will place this wall, I want to drag it about where I want it, and then make sure I make this a single unit, single whole number, just a whole number. Because a whole number, units in Unity are 1 here. This is a 1 unit. So if I have a 1, that is up 1 unit. Now inside of this thing that does not really have an inside yet, I want to place our goal. Zero the Z out. And if I was to make this -3, there we go. Now it is exactly in the center of this wall. And that's how we're going to go about designing all of these levels. It may be tedious, and it very well may be the incorrect way to go about doing it, but I like having control over every single position. Good thing is, though, is if I was to duplicate this, let me show you something a lot of people probably don't know or don't use enough, and that's a style of vertex snapping. If I was to hover over this wall I just duplicated and hold down the V key, see that point that's coming up on the corners there? If I was to grab, say I put it on this corner, and now drag, I say that, it don't work, and now drag, now that point is snapping to other vertices. So I can place it right there, and now that is perfectly aligned with that object. Now you may come across, you'll get some creeping decimal places. So you might like notice this be like 0.00001. You might want to fix that if you notice it. You don't have to, I guess. It ain't going to be that bad. But if you come across it, just fix it if you see it. Now this one I want to make 3, no, we'll do 4 on the X and then 1 on the Z, and I'll hold down V on the corner there and snap it to that point right on that wall. Now notice we're going to be creating some kind of room for our goal to be hiding in. Now I can duplicate this one, holding V, I'll snap it right, hold V right there, snap it right there, and then it will, actually we'll scale this out so that wouldn't even matter. I want to scale it out on the Z for about 5, and then we'll do 6. Now I'll hold down V on the end there and do the same thing. Ooh, that one right there. And now what I'll do is I will duplicate this, holding V, I will drag it to there. But what I want to do with this one is I want to push it over to there. But now that doesn't look too good right there. So what we can do is actually extend this down to make that a square there. Put a cube in that corner. But to do that, we'll just make this 4 that way. Holding V, grab that point, place it. If this would, come on, give me the right view. There we go. Just like that. And now to get in this room, we will make a little hallway to enter. Now it's pretty simple, right? But I'll hit Control D. I want to drag this little guy down here. And we may actually not do that. We'll hit Delete. And I'll actually extend this out to be 5. Holding V down, I will then grab this point, match it up to that point, and then I will move it down 1 unit on the X. So we'll do negative, not on that way. All right, this way we'll do 4 on the Z to match it up again where it was, keeping whole numbers so they're all square. It's all square. I will then take this right here, hit Control D, holding V, I'll drag it down to here, and then on this I will 0, 5.5. Now let's put it back in the corner. So we'll do a negative 1.5, just like that. Is that a square there? Place is good. Yep, it's perfect. Can make sure I had this all correct. But then right here we'll just place another wall, but this wall will be 1 by 1 by 1, holding down V. I'll snap it into place. I'll actually put it like right there. Now what we can do with this entrance here is put a little bad guy to patrol in like a triangular format here, just like I had in the prototype. This is a bit different than the prototype, but it'll give you the same idea. So I'll take the enemy, which I don't like the color of. I don't like him. We'll give him a better material color here in a little bit, but I want to, he's going to start out about here, he's going to walk to here, and then walk to here, and then walk back to there. And then you have to weave in and get up through there. It's simple, but it'll be the first level to introduce a player to the mechanics of the game. So let's find our patrol points. I want to hit the patrol point here, place it there, and then make sure I set this up as a whole number. And then set that up as a whole number. Where am I at there? Now let's do 4. Then grab this patrol point, push it there, set that up as that, and then do 7. It gets pretty simple once you get in the rhythm of doing what you're wanting to do, once you understand where certain things should be. Now this one could be at like 2.5 if it wanted to be, and then at, we'll do at 5. It's not going to be in the center if we do that. We'll do 5.5. We'll just do 5. It don't really matter if it's perfectly centered for this. So now if we were to click start, does this guy have the 3 patrol points? Yes. Click play. He'll spawn at his spawn point, walk over to here, and then walk over to here, then walk back to there. And we have to weave in here past this guy and get into this goal room. Now it's hard to see in the play view, but see how smooth that went? That was good. Okay, so it's hard to see in the play view since I designed the level completely backwards. But to fix that, what we can do is we will take the map. That's interesting that I did that backwards and now I have to figure out a way to fix it. What we could do is, see, I can't just rotate the camera around because my player would be moving in an interesting way then. So I could do that and then rotate the player around as well. Suppose I take the camera here and I was to actually rotate it around this way, negative 90 degrees, and then bring him down just like this. We can see the level a bit better. I want to zero it out on the Z. But I click play and I hit up. Now up is going to the right, which isn't good for us. So how can we fix that? Well, that's a good question. What we can do is, if say we want to rotate the player around, well, we can do that and do it like this, but force isn't being added relatively, right? So if I put it in a weird angle and I still hit up, it'll still be moving in the same direction. So what we can do is we can add force to our player movement relatively. That way we can manipulate the player's angle and that would change the direction the player goes in. So I can add, I believe it is called add relative force. Yes, there it is. Just like that. And it's the same thing except it's based on the player's rotation. So I was to hit up now I'm moving in a funky angle. So if we were to make this negative 90, which would match the camera's rotation, and click play, now I should be moving in the correct location, or in the correct direction. So down does that, up does that. And that is good for us. So we have to get inside there. Hard to tell because that green sucks, but we'll fix that. But what I want to do is just squeeze in here really quick, just to see how possible it is. Very good, very easy. So one thing we need to do is I want to change the... what's it going to change? The color of the enemy. We have a few funky colors that I want to change, but this is one of them. Is it even attached to the enemy? It's not even attached to the enemy, no wonder. There we go. I was like, why is that not doing anything? Something like that. And then our main camera, we also change the background. We'll make it kind of look like that. That's pretty cool, but then you can't see where you fall off at. Make it a bit darker than that, or a bit lighter. Bit darker. Maybe we could do like a sky color. Nah, I don't like that too much. Just play around with this. What do you want to, you know? I'll do something like that for now. Settle. I don't want to start up there, though. I want to start my guy. He'll start down here. And the camera can come back a little bit. He's too close in there. And he can rotate down just a bit to give us a different angle. Come up. Like that. Looks pretty good. Now, one thing is pretty cool. What if I went to orthographic here instead of perspective? That means you won't see any perspective. Like if an object is farther away or closer, whatever. But notice how I'm seeing. Just look at the difference. Boom. No perspective. Everything is the same, no matter the distance, no matter the angle. It's pretty cool. And that could give us an interesting gameplay if I was to do it this way. But you don't really get a 3D feel because there is no 3D in this type of perspective. It's all just, well, it's 3D still, but you don't get the feeling of 3D. You can't really tell depth because everything is the same. That may not be good for us with the style of gameplay that we have. Let's squeeze by this guy this way. Squeeze in here and go like that. So one thing we could do is, we could go back to perspective, and we could, the field of view is interesting. Should we give control of that to the player and allow him to modify that? No, because we want it to be pretty much like that. Now I want to go to my materials for my gold, and change it. I just don't. I think it's too opaque. It's not visible enough. So if I was to make this like this green color, let's up that. Maybe it matches the ground too much. Maybe that's an issue. Let's take the ground and go a different direction with it. What do you think about that? And then we were to take the camera. Well, the background doesn't look too bad on the camera as is, but we could play around with this and get same color and do something like that. Same thing, just different color. And now the green kind of stands out a bit more. We could add some particles to this, something like floating up, glowing green orbs, like, hey, come to me, something like that. But for now, this is where we're at, and I do like what we have. And that is how I'm going to approach designing my levels. Now, you can have multiple enemies in the same level. You can have different kind of traps and stuff like that, which I want to do. We're going to do some traps. I'm not even going to ask you if you want traps. We're going to do some traps. We're going to have some spikes. We're going to, like, maybe spikes that pop up and go down, and you have to go over them while they're down. That'll be fun, won't it? And then we'll have some, I don't know, something else. Spikes are cool, though. We can just do spikes. We can have something that, like, slams the ground, like, psh, 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 and you have to get under it, or if you touch it, it'll kill you. All kind of the same thing, but they look cool. They'll be pleasing to look at, and they can crush you and explode you into sparks. That'll be fun. But that'll do it for this part. We did quite a bit. It was all over the place. We did a little bit of everything, and that's okay. So we have some pretty good progress going here, and I hope you guys are excited about this small little game as I am, because I am super excited about it. I don't know if you can tell or not, but I want to play a full version of this. If any of you guys make a game like this, if you're following this and making a game like this, please make a real game out of it. I want to play that. I do want to play that. You may think it's something silly and stupid, but I bet it could be kind of fun. And you may come across better ways of doing things. And if you do, that's great. The particles, are they straight up? I could have sworn watching one of those videos, the particles were actually angled. Did I change that off camera? I know I said it was time to go, but I gotta check this, because if I did, I have to tell you what I did. Let's go to the player movement. Yeah, I did change the particles rotation off camera, so I'll talk about that in the next part, but there you go. That's how I did it. Euler 270.00, and that's the quick way to get them upright. That's just rotating it on the x-axis. Once again, thank you for watching. My name is Austin. Subscribe if you want some more. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Google+. And like this video if you liked it. That helps me a lot. You wouldn't believe how much that helps me. I'll see you next time.